From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Protests erupting in Phoenix in support of Puerto Rico calling for the territory's governor to resign.
Plus, eco-friendly flying, what Sky Harbor is doing to go green by adding some desert landscaping.
And the science behind urban heat islands and just how hot it could get during Phoenix nights, with no solution in sight.
Cronkite News starts now.
Thousands of Puerto Ricans in several cities across the country, including here in Phoenix, taking to the streets asking embattled Governor Ricardo Rossello to resign. Good evening, I'm Sabina Zofchik.
And I'm Gabriel Moreno. A series of scandals involving Rossello rocking the island, motivating protesters to say enough is enough. Cronkite News reporter Tanaya Williamson was at the protest in front of Arizona's Capitol.
Tanaya, what brought Puerto Ricans to this point?
According to census information from 2017, the Puerto Rican population in Arizona has increased by just over 43%, many of them coming to the state as a result of the devastation of Hurricane Maria. Now many of them are saying that the governor's actions is pouring salt on an already open wound. Dozens of protesters gathering in front of Arizona's Capitol, demanding Puerto Rico's governor resign.
That's what it's showing right now. It's showing that even though we're in the distance, we are fighting for Puerto Rico, and we are with Puerto Rico in their fight too.
The protest put together by members of the Valley's Puerto Rican community. The demonstration, their way of asking Governor Ricardo Rossello to leave office. Puerto Ricans incensed after leaks of private chat messages exchanged between the governor and members of his staff were made public by Puerto Rico's Center of Investigative Journalism. They contain nearly 900 pages of posts including homophobic and misogynistic messages directed at politicians, community members, and even celebrities. Some of the messages posted made light of the deaths caused by Hurricane Maria.
I think this was the last straw. After the hurricane, Puerto Rico has suffered so much, and it has been so traumatic that I think people say, oh, but we've had incidents like this before. Yes, that's right, but I think people are just tired.
Late Wednesday night, the march in Puerto Rico ending in violent clashes between protesters and police as officers fired tear gas into the crowd. Phoenix's protest, just one of several held throughout the United States as sister rallies to the massive protests on the island.
I'm so numb from politics in America, but the people of Puerto Rico aren't numb, and they're waking us all up.
It would be negligent to divorce the corruption in Puerto Rico and what's going on in the island from the colonial status that Puerto Rico has been for so many years, because they do come together to create the conditions that we're struggling with right now on the island.
The controversial chat thread, just the latest in a string of scandals rocking the Puerto Rican governor. Just 2 days before, 2 of his top officials resigned, arrested, and charged with corruption. Despite the public outcry, Rossello says he's not going anywhere.
I will continue my work, my responsibility, which is a big responsibility to the people of Puerto Rico who gave me the opportunity to continue to provide this result.
As of now, Rossello has not resigned. Another massive protest on the island has been scheduled for next Monday. Reporting live in the control room, Tanaya Williamson, Cronkite News.
Arizona officials have verified thousands of signatures to place an initiative on the ballot to make Tucson the state's first sanctuary city, even though, according to Arizona law, the state cannot have sanctuary cities. The initiative aims to add protections for people living in the U.S. illegally, including preventing Tucson police from asking about immigration status. The recorder's office received over 12,000 signatures, but the Pima County Republican Party says they plan to challenge the validity of them.
Active duty troops on the southern border with Mexico began carrying out welfare checks on detained migrants earlier this month to help out overwhelmed Customs and Border Protection agents. The welfare checks are primarily happening at stations in Texas and Arizona. 2 U.S. defense officials told CNN the troops are periodically monitoring migrant well-being and reporting suspicious, violent, or medically related unresponsive behavior. The new welfare role marks a departure from their original mission on the border. When troops first deployed, Pentagon officials stressed that military personnel would not be in direct contact with migrants. This news comes as the Pentagon confirms it approved a request from the Department of Homeland Security to send an additional 1,000 National Guard troops to the border.
The House of Representatives voted last night to table an impeachment resolution against President Trump. 95 Democrats voted to proceed on impeachment, while 332 House members voted against it. Among the opponents were 137 Democrats, including Arizona Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego and Greg Stanton, both of whom have previously called for Trump's impeachment.
I want to thank those Democrats because many of them voted for us. The vote was a totally lopsided 332 to 95 to 1.
But a vote against the resolution may not be the same as a vote for Trump. We were not able to get a comment from Stanton today, but Gallego's office said the Phoenix Democrat still believes in impeachment. He just thinks yesterday's resolution was not the right vehicle for it. Other Arizona Democrats who have called for impeachment, Tucson Democrats Raul Grijalva and Ann Kirkpatrick, both voted for the motion to impeach the president. So we want to hear from you now. Do you feel like Arizona lawmakers accurately represented their constituents? Why or why not? Keith writes, as a constituent of Ruben Gallego, I agree with his position and that of Greg Stanton, that the House should immediately open an impeachment inquiry. Jumping right to a vote without actually gathering the evidence and educating the American people would be a mistake. Another Cronkite News viewer says they did not represent him by voting no. And JLS writes yes, because impeachment is a waste of time. It won't pass in the Senate. Mitch won't even allow a vote. I want Donald out of office. We'll have to do it the old-fashioned way through voting and allow the courts to charge him in January 2021. It's not too late to join the conversation. Just go to our Cronkite News Twitter feed and chime in.
The Phoenix Police Department is speeding up the rollout of more body cameras amid community anger sparked by video of officers cursing and pointing guns at a black family suspected of shoplifting. The department is assigning body cameras today to the sergeants and officers of its gang unit and downtown operation. Authorities say this will bring the total number of cameras in use by the department to 1,100 in February. City leaders approved $5 million to buy and maintain 2,000 devices for a force approaching 3,000 officers.
A new study by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention finds Maricopa County is among the 50 local jurisdictions in the United States that made it nearly half of the new HIV diagnosis in 2016 and 2017. One reason is Maricopa County has a large concentration of Latino and African American men between ages of 25 and 34, two demographics that haven't seen a significant reduction in the transmission of HIV.
This bill is passed.
The House passed a bill today to raise the minimum wage from the first time in a decade. The Raise the Wage Act would bring the federal minimum wage up gradually from $7.25 to $15 by 2025. It's not expected to go far in the Senate.
There's a museum or memorial for just about everything in Washington, D.C., but not every important site in our nation's capital is in the tour books, and not all of them are easy to find.
Julian Paras is in Washington and shares how one app is leading tourists to landmarks that may mean more, even if they're not advertised.
D.C. is home to monuments marking the nation's history. Do a Google search for Native American landmarks, however, and the National Museum of the American Indian is probably the only thing that comes up. But a closer look shows the capital is home to many monuments with Native ties, from the Iwo Jima Memorial to Congressional Cemetery to more than a dozen others. How can a casual visitor find them all? There's now an app for that, of course.
Working on this app, learning more about the history of Indigenous peoples in the D.C. area has been an honor to work on this project.
Rule was talking about Indigenous D.C., an app developed by a group at the AT&T Center for Indigenous Politics and Policy at George Washington University. The app unveiled this summer raises awareness about 17 lesser-known sites around D.C. While the Iwo Jima Memorial is famous, it's not clear at first glance that one of the Marines raising the flag is Ira Hayes, a Pima Indian from Arizona, and less obvious sites like Congressional Cemetery. Through the app, the user can learn or visit places like the Liberty and Freedom Lummi Totem Poles located in Washington, D.C. The poles were created after the 9/11 terrorist attack to help the nation heal. Indigenous D.C. was selected from 7 proposals aimed at telling Indigenous history.
They offered projects that raised awareness of Native students, their vibrancy, their essential role within higher education, and George Washington's Indigenous Guide to DC was one of those.
Tina Kite, a tourist from Georgia who was visiting the National Museum of the American Indian recently, thinks the app would be handy for visitors like her.
You could definitely explore more, and it would save you time in like just Googling to try to find information. That would be very helpful.
While the app is focused on DC, Bledsoe said he hopes it can be used in schools nationwide.
We see that as a way that we'll continue to invest in how Natives are seen in this space.
At Iwo Jima Memorial, Julian Paras, Cronkite News.
Sounds, lights, and text. That's how one Native artist named Raven Chacon is expressing his tribe's history.
In a solo exhibit at the Heard Museum, Chacon retells the Navajo creation story in a way that transcends the traditional form of Native storytelling.
Still life number 3 is an entire gallery installation. So the entire gallery is just one work comprised of timed lighting, a time delay and sound speakers, and then 24 plexiglass panels with 12 being in English and 12 being in Dene.
This installation is the third of a series made by Chacon and will be exhibited at the Heard Museum through November 3rd.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, how Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is becoming more eco-friendly, trying to save water by doing this.
And Phoenix is one of the most dangerous cities for cyclists. We reveal how high we rank after the break.
All of its children had come to the Mother Church of Country Music. It was almost like a badge of honor that you had to bring your culture with you to the table. That's why Bob Wills and his guys brought us Western music. That's why Hank Williams brought the South with him from honky tonks. Johnny Cash brought the Black Lamb Dirt of Arkansas. Bill Monroe brought music out of Kentucky bluegrass music. Willie Nelson brought his poetry from Texas. Patsy Cline brought her heartache from Virginia. I mean, it was the most wonderful parade of sons and daughters of America that brought their hearts and their souls and their experiences, and it gave us a great era in country music.
The airport scenery has changed from all green to a more desert tan.
Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee found out why the change of scenery took place.
This is all part of a much larger plan to reduce water usage for a more sustainable airport, while also saving money.
Driving through the airport, you may notice the landscaping has changed to a more natural desert look.
You see it in people's houses, you see it in other natural landscaping because it fits here. I think the Water Services Director said it best when she said we honor our environment when we plant the things here that belong here.
Sky Harbor Airport completed this zero-scaping plan last month. This is one of their efforts to help reduce the airport's water usage by 10% by 2020.
Fits in perfectly not only with our overall goals, but with the city's goals and the community's goals. I think it's going to be looked at as as a prime project to model after.
They replaced 10.9 acres of turf to put in low water use trees, saguaros, cacti, and other plants and shrubs, filling in the empty areas with rocking. The locations where they made these changes were all in areas which weren't accessible to pedestrians.
With water, you really want to be strategic about where you use your water. Like, there's not many people who walk to the airport and walk along beside the freeway. So having, grass there might not be a good spot for grass.
It's a great thing to look at when you're driving by, but you couldn't do anything with it but maintain it. And it costs money to maintain, and it costs time to maintain, and human resource, and a lot of time and energy went into maintaining a beautiful looking turf that frankly just didn't belong here.
This project is anticipated to save $400,000 annually, in addition to reducing water usage by over 5 million gallons a year. Chief Sustainability Officer for Phoenix says accomplishments made by the city have been remarkable.
We definitely are looking at our water use and have been the last number of years to say, let's look at it. And you know, Phoenix, our per capita water use has dropped 30% in the last couple decades.
Other than water conservation, the airport's sustainability management plan focuses on 7 key areas, some including waste and recycling, energy, and greenhouse gas emissions. At the digital desk, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
Commuting on a bike in the valley is a popular option for many cyclists, even though bicycle deaths are on the rise nationwide. And Phoenix happens to be one of the top 20 most dangerous cities in the U.S. to ride a bike. According to a study by Business Insider, Phoenix ranked number 8 out of 20 when it comes to dangerous cities for cyclists. But Phoenix is planning on adding over 1,000 miles of bike lanes by 2050 as part of a bigger initiative to better the city's transportation system.
We all know the valley is hot, but did you know scientists call Phoenix a heat island? We'll explain why after the break.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Developing now, the cellar fire burning 16 miles west of Prescott has spread to 6,500 acres. Today on Twitter, many are sharing maps showing the growth of the fire and where it could be headed next. And earlier today, people in the area were put on ready status, meaning if they need to evacuate, they'll be ready. Tonight, there will be a community meeting at 6 at Glassford Hills Middle School to discuss the blaze. Have you noticed cities like Phoenix are getting hotter? And have you ever wondered what's causing the rise in temperatures?
Scientists call it the heat island phenomenon. But what is it? Why is it heating up cities, and what can we do to stop it?
I'm a Phoenix native, and it never used to be this hot when I was growing up. It's hotter and hotter every year. It's not cooling off at night.
And if you can't cool off at night, then the next day is going to be much worse.
Here's what is happening. Summer sun shines on the concrete, asphalt, bricks, steel, and other materials we use to build our cities.
The urban heat island manifests in the city core, particularly where we have urban materials that retain the heat.
All those materials soak up and hold on to that heat.
The air temperature is built by a variety of different factors. One of them, the main component, is the surface temperature. So different surfaces are going to respond and heat up differently.
Surfaces heat up during the daytime, they get warm, and they cool off at different rates at night. In urban settings, there tends to be a lot more complex topography, and so surfaces that get hot during the day cannot radiate that energy to space as efficiently at night. They tend to stay a little bit warmer, whereas if you're out in the open desert, for example, those surfaces are radiating to the night sky, and they actually can cool off even below the ambient air temperature at night.
So, nighttime temperatures never get as low as they should. And as the sun rises the next day, the city has a head start on another hot day. ASU research is taking aim at the heat island on the ground, and soon it will also be looking at it from above, from a satellite in space.
The Phoenix CubeSat mission is a satellite being built entirely by undergraduate students here at ASU. And its mission is to take thermal images of the planet, cities across our planet, to study the urban heat island phenomenon. Here is a thermal camera, This has been my flare. It's been my flare. It's a thermal imaging camera that will be taking pictures of cities.
Arizona State University is involved in better understanding the heat island problem and in finding solutions.
So all these instruments collectively are giving us an idea of what the atmosphere is in this part of the city. So using all of those things together, we can see what the baseline is from this, and then as we change the neighborhood, what are those effects for the person walking through or living in the neighborhood?
We need science to understand not just that it is warmer in cities, but why it is warmer in cities. Because only by understanding why it is warmer can we actually do anything about it.
In the next 30 years, Phoenix could see nighttime temperatures rise another 12 degrees and see 300% increase in heat-related deaths.
This is according to researchers at ASU's School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning.
I mean, I can't even imagine the Phoenix heat getting 12 degrees hotter in the future, especially at night.
Neither can I. Bane Froney is here to tell us more about what temperatures we can be expecting for the upcoming week. Bane, what's going on?
Guys, I don't even want to think about it getting any hotter ever. I mean, right now we're at 104 degrees currently in Phoenix. I mean, to me, that's pretty hot. But if we take a look even further down south in Tucson, they're still in those triple digits with us as well, about 102 degrees right now. But the hottest temperature we're feeling around the state right now is 108 in Lake Havasu and Bullhead City. If we take a look even further up north, they're in those temperatures in the high 80s, 90s, and even 100-degree temps. But later tonight in Phoenix, we're going to be cooling down just a little bit, about 98 degrees, what we're expecting around 10 o'clock. But those clouds are staying with us throughout the entire night and through tomorrow morning and during the day. So 8 o'clock, we're expecting about 90-degree temperatures. And then by noon, we're expecting those triple digits to be coming right back at us, about 102 degrees, what we're going to be feeling midday, and then about 107 at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Though this weekend, we are going to be feeling highs of about 109 on Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to be seeing that sunshine throughout the entire weekend. But the clouds are coming back on Monday. So we're going to be seeing those clouds all the way through Wednesday. But by Thursday, that should be pretty much cleared up with just a little bit of clouds left in the sky. In the Weather Center, Bane Froney, Cronkite News.
Up next, how the Phoenix Mercury celebrated their youngest fans. That story after the break.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
Welcome to another edition of Cronkite Sports Now. I'm Taylor Rocha. Let's talk sports.
For the latest on local sports and beyond, we've got you covered.
Let's do this thing.
We challenge reporters to go beyond, a game story. We want stories with depth.
It's just a crucial step from the college experience into the professional experience while you're still in school.
At Cronkite Sports Now, watch the journalists of tomorrow cover sports today.
The Phoenix Mercury celebrated their youngest fans from around the valley yesterday with their annual camp day.
Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Amundsen caught up with some of the campers. Lindsay?
Thousands of kids in their neon camp shirts filled Talking Stick Resort Arena for the Mercury's annual matinee game. This game is specifically designed for kids' camps throughout Arizona. The cheers that echoed throughout the arena were at a higher pitch than normal. The screams of children brought a different kind of energy to the Mercury.
The Kids Day is loud, man, it's loud. Seen everybody with their earplugs. And I was like, that's awesome because, they're bringing the energy for us. It's awesome just to get the kids in here. I know they love it. So it's always great to hear them screaming.
Kids from camps across Arizona spent the day interacting with Mercury mascot Scorch, dancing for the big screen and trying to win prizes.
Yell a lot, and whenever the players shoot, there's these, it's hard, this noise, it shakes the chairs. Feels cool.
The Mercury have been hosting Camp Day for over 10 years to provide local kids with an experience specifically tailored for them. A day camp teacher, Madison DC, says that she looks forward to every year.
That I get to watch them experience something that a lot of them don't get to experience all the time, and it's just fun seeing their faces light up, seeing them just enjoy themselves, and it's just fun.
10,183 fans witnessed a 69-64 victory over Dallas. But Mercury guard Dewana Bonner, a mother of twins, says that this day means a little more to her than a typical game.
I got a little soft spot for the kids. It was very nice to hear them. They screamed the whole entire time. So very cool experience. I hope they enjoyed it, and luckily we came out to win for them.
The Mercury turned right around and headed to Dallas Saturday to face off against the Wings again at 5 p.m. The first time these teams met this season, Dallas held the Mercury to only 54 points. But after Mercury's win against them yesterday, they look to improve to 9-8 on the season. In the broadcast center, Lindsay Amundsen, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, Congressman Raul Grijalva joins us to talk about the latest from Capitol Hill, and an investigation looks into why pedestrian deaths are on the rise. It's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour, taking history into the future. The new head of the Smithsonian, Lonnie Bunch, in his first national TV interview in this role. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.